Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Brittany and let's talk about books. So today I'm going to be doing my Legend Trilogy review. So today I'm going to be doing my review of the Legend Trilogy by Marie Lu. It consists of Legend, Prodigy, and Champion. So I absolutely loved this whole trilogy, and I'm really glad that I finally got around to reading it, and now I just have to buy them because these are all from the library. And yeah, so let's just get right on to reviewing. It's going to be non-spoiler, and I'm just going to start by talking about each individual book and then a series as a whole. So let's start with Legend. Totally just hit my face. I've got my review book here. It's my nice Spider-Man notebook. Let's get started. Okay, so on Goodreads, I rated Legend 5 out of 5 stars, but my real rating is 4.5 out of 5 stars. But I just rounded it up for Goodreads since you can't do half stars, which I think is ridiculous. But anywho, I really enjoyed it. There really wasn't an issue with it, except it was kind of a bit slow, just a tiny bit slow at the beginning. Besides that, it was wonderfully paced and beautiful. So let's just start by talking about the characters. So I'm just going to talk about kind of like the main-ish characters. So let's start with June. She's one of our protagonists. There's two point of views in this book. There's her point of view and Day's point of view. Day's point of view is in different colors than June's. In Legend, it's in gold. In Prodigy, it's in blue. And in Champion, it's in red. And so, yeah, that way you can like, it's just a cool little addition to the story. So let's talk about June. So I really liked June. She was smart and, you know, witty, and she could think quickly, and she noticed little things about people. Like, she could tell if they were right-handed, and it was just really interesting how she could like pick out these little things about each person, and it was just, her character was wonderfully done, and I just really enjoyed her as a character, as a person, and yeah, she was very headstrong. I don't know if that's the right word, but like, I don't know, I really liked how like later on in the series as well, she doesn't jump into things normally. She likes to think about things and, you know, likes to think them through. She is not hasty. Is that the word? I can't think of words. I didn't write this in my notes, so this is off the top of my head. But like, she doesn't jump into a situation. She questions things. There we go. That's my phone. But she questions things, and you know, when somebody tells her something, she questions it. Can I trust this person? Is like, you know, this can't be happening. This can't be right. It's just really good. Sometimes characters just don't question anything, and they kind of just like take what people say for the truth and kind of just trust them right off the bat, and that's not June whatsoever. So let's talk about Day. He's our other main character, our other protagonist, and I really enjoyed him as well. He was also smart, just like June is. He, for the most part, thought out his plans, and, you know, he didn't rush into anything, and I loved how much he cared for Tess, which is his friend that he met out on the streets, and I love how he also cares about his family. Almost everything he does is to protect and help his family survive, and basically this whole book, he's just worrying about his family. All throughout the second book, he's worrying about his family, and it's just beautiful. I love it so much. Sometimes family isn't really involved in the story, and I don't think they were a huge part of the story, but they weren't like seen a lot. They were just mentioned a lot. Same with June's brother Matthias, but there's a different reason for that. But they weren't present in the story a lot. They were here few times, like his brothers were there. There were a few flashbacks with his family. And I think we could see his mom once or twice. I don't know, we see her a little bit, but we mainly see his brothers. And I just love how he cared so much about people, and I love Day. I love Day. So now let's talk about Matthias, which is June's older brother. So we don't get to see a lot of him because he does die fairly early on in the story. That's not a spoiler unless you didn't read the inside flap right here, but I'm not going to count it as a spoiler because you can just read it right there. But he dies fairly early on in the story, so we don't get to see a lot of him, but we do get to see a lot of flashbacks from June's point of view. She talks about him a lot, and from what we see, he was a very caring brother and just a really good person overall. He cared about June, he cared about his friend Thomas, which I will talk about in a minute, and I really wish that we could have seen him longer. I wish he could have lasted a bit longer, and that like the story could have just been a little bit longer so we could see more of him, but well, we got to see a lot of flashbacks of him throughout the whole entire series, so really enjoyed that aspect. So now we're going to talk about Thomas, which is Matthias's friend, June's friend, I guess, and like a soldier as well as Matthias was and June is. So when the story first began, I did not really have an opinion of him. Oh my god, my hair. I didn't really have an opinion of him. He was kind of just there, and you know, I was like, okay, yeah, and he doesn't seem like a huge character. I'll just not worry about him. I do that to a lot of characters. I normally just care, I just saw a bird. But I normally just care a lot about the main characters, and he just was not a main character, so didn't really think much of him until like halfway through the book, and then I've kind of got some mixed feelings about him. Like, didn't hate him, didn't love him. It's kind of just in the middle of that, but I didn't necessarily like him either. It was kind of like a dislike kind of thing, where I just like, I don't know. Like, again, I didn't really have an opinion of him. I just kind of was wary of him and was like, okay, I don't know if you're right in the head. And then as the series progresses, I just hate him. But yeah. So that's all. Oh no, there's one more character I want to talk about that I did make a note of, and that's Commander Jameson. She's kind of the like head person of like the soldiers, I guess, like the army. She's the commander, and she is in charge of everything. And I just hated her guts. She had fake sincerity. Like, she would fake being sincere, and I hated it. Like, oh, it irks me so much. And she was just, she was an antagonist, and I just hated her. But I kind of liked to hate her just a little bit. Like, she was a good addition to the story. Some villains I just flat out hate. I don't even love to like hate them. I just flat out hate them, but I kind of liked to hate her. I don't know. So let's talk about the plot real quickly. So it was really, really enjoyable. I really liked the action and also the sentimental moments. There was like really cute little moments and little calmer moments, I guess, that I really, really enjoyed. But when action came, let me tell you, it was really good. And it was fast-paced. It wasn't like extremely fast-paced, like it's hard to keep up with it, but it was like a really decent pace. It wasn't too slow, it wasn't too fast, right in the middle, and I loved that. It was just a fun read, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. I also really enjoyed the writing style. There was nothing necessarily special about it, but it just flowed nicely. It was, Marie Lu is amazing, and I love the world that she's created, and I love how she introduces everything in this book and doesn't spend too much time world building. I don't know, it just really, really enjoyable. Now let's talk about Prodigy, which is the second book, obviously. So both on Goodreads and personally, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Now that I think of it, it might be a 4.5 out of 5 stars, but I still just really loved it, and yeah, it was really, really enjoyable as well. So let's talk about the new characters that were introduced in this story, or the characters that we saw a lot more of in this story that just weren't worth mentioning for Legend. So let's talk about Katie. So we see her a little bit in Legend, but not a whole lot. And I don't have to have like a real opinion of her, but when I read Legend, I liked her a little bit. I didn't like her at the beginning when we first met her, around the middle-ish. I didn't really like her, but then I grew to like her near the end. And I just loved her in this book. She was funny, she was sassy, she was like so strong and like brave, and I just really liked her. Yeah, she was a great addition to the story. I loved seeing more of her in this book. I think I already said that, but I loved seeing more of her in this book. Yeah, so the next character I'm going to talk about is Razor. He was introduced in this book, and I just didn't know what to think of him. Like, he came into the story, and I was like questioning alongside June. I was like, can we trust him? I don't know. But didn't really care for him at all. Again, he's just one of those characters that I don't think a lot about, but I was like, can we trust him? Is he trustworthy? I don't know. So, not much to talk about there. Let's talk about Andon. Andon. Elector Andon. Okay, so we were briefly introduced to him in the first book as the son of the Elector. But, you know, things happened, and I didn't know what to think of him. I didn't know if he was trustworthy. He seemed trustworthy. June seemed to trust him after a little while, and I was just so unsure. I was like, can we trust him? Can we not? I don't know. But when I made my notes, I put, I would like to see more of him in Champion, which happened, and I was so happy, but I liked his parts in this book. Like, it wasn't like the kind of parts like a new character comes in and like, oh my god, I hate this character, I hate these scenes with him, but I actually really enjoyed his scenes with June. So those are the characters I want to talk about, so let's talk about the plot. It was the same as Legend, enjoyable, good pace, action, calm, cute little moments, but yeah, I think this book was not as much action as Legend. I think the first book was just introducing you to the world, jumping into the world, getting you excited about the world. This book is kind of just plotting what's going to happen for the big finale. The first book, starting everything off, getting the plot ready. This book, plotting it out a little bit, you know, slowing things down and just dealing with things. Champion, just flat out. A bit more plotting actually, but then just flat out action, and it's great. Yeah, this book was really good. I didn't talk about it as long as I did Legend, so you can tell this one's my least favorite, but I still loved it almost as much as the other two. So yeah. Now let's talk about Champion, the final book in the trilogy. So I gave this 5 out of 5 both on Goodreads and my personal rating. I absolutely adored it. I think I still love Legend. No, I gave them 5 out of 5. Okay, I liked this one more than Legend. I don't know what I'm saying. It's late-ish, not really. So let's talk about the characters. I'm going to talk about characters that were more progressed in the story in this book, and new characters. Yeah, there's not new characters, but like just characters that we've seen before but are more in this book and more like thought out in this book. So let's talk about Andon again. I really enjoyed seeing more of him in this book. I think I already mentioned that when I was talking about Prodigy. And I just really liked his character. I just realized I put a spoiler in my notes, so I'm not going to say it, but I really enjoyed his character. He did not seem like intimidating. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just really enjoyed his character. Sometimes I stop to say something and then I realize I don't know where I'm going with it. Let's talk about Eden, which is Day's little brother. We do see him just the tiniest sliver in Legend. We see like none of him in Prodigy, maybe like a split second of him in Prodigy, and then we see a whole lot of him in Champion, and I loved it. He was so cute. I love little kids, and so I love reading about little kids as well. And so glad he was in this book, and it really made me happy. I really loved and cared for him, and I didn't realize how much I actually cared for him until one certain point, kind of near the end of the novel, when his life was kind of threatened, and he was like in this bad situation, and I was just scared for his life, and I didn't realize how much I cared about him until that moment. And it was just, I love those realizations where you don't realize that you're falling in love with the character. You don't realize how much you love a character until something has happened to them or is about to happen to them, and you're scared for them. So yeah, I really enjoyed him. He was so brave and strong and kind of wise beyond his years, yet still at times so childish and so like naive and young. There were times where he was very old sounding, very smart sounding, where he just sounded like he was a lot older than he was. I believe he was like 9 or 10, and he just sounded a lot older than he was at some points. And sometimes that's bad because they're like, oh, kids never talk that way. But it wasn't like that, because there were also times where he acted very young, but he was just much more mature than a normal 9 and 10-year-old normally is. Let's talk about Tess. So we do see a lot of Tess in Legend. We see a little bit of her in Prodigy, and we see a bit of her in Champion as well. But I didn't really have an opinion of her in the first 2 books. In this one, I do have a bit more of an opinion than I did before. I liked how she came back. She kind of left for a little bit in Prodigy and wasn't in a big chunk of Champion. A big chunk. Yeah, I liked her friendship with Day, because I mentioned her when I was talking about Day in the first book. And I liked her friendship with him, and I liked her. I didn't love her. Like, I probably could have gone without her. No, I couldn't have. What am I saying? I really enjoyed her character. I didn't love her, but she was a good addition to the story. I see my neighbor. Anyways, a good addition to the story. I really enjoyed her character. Let's talk about the plot now. Action-packed. Beautifully action-packed. There were, and it's exciting, there were moments when my heart was like racing and it was pounding, and I was just like, oh my god, my mouth was hanging open. And I was reading like the end of this when my family was around. Like, I had family members over, and they were just watching me and enjoying watching me like read the book and like finishing the book, because I had like such emotion on my face, and like I was genuinely scared for what was gonna happen. Yeah, it had me on the edge of my seat is basically what I'm trying to say, and it was just, it was really good. It went in like way different. It went in a way different direction. That's not English. It went in a different direction than I thought it was going to go in. I don't really know what I was expecting. I didn't write that in my notes, and I can't quite remember what I was expecting from this book. But what I got definitely was not what I was expecting, especially towards the end. I did not expect that end to happen. I totally thought one thing was going to happen. I was set on this one thing happening for the majority of this book, and then it kind of changed a few times. I was like, oh, maybe this will happen instead. Maybe this won't happen, this will happen. But both of my my ideas were wrong. Both of my I legit just threw the book across my room. How did that even happen? My bad. I'm surprised somebody's